cares, wants to score a touchdown every time.
It's a run. It's Nix keeping his feet for the score.
I've loved my time at Oregon. I think that it was just a really good.
Nix, pump fake, takes off, into the clear. Bo Nix, there he goes. He won't be caught. He's done it again.
Over the middle, it's Franklin. Troy Franklin will take it.
Ready to chuck it down the field. Bo Nix to the end zone, dropped it in for Franklin. A majestic touchdown.
Welcome to the Put on Waivers Media Group, home of the Put on Raiders podcast and the Student Body Right podcast. This is your place for the best breakdowns and the best insight for those who fight on and bleed silver and black. Now, here are your hosts, Dwayne Douglas and Ryan Holmes.
And welcome, everybody, to the glorious episode of the Put on Raiders podcast. I'm your host, Dwayne Douglas, along with Ryan Holmes, and we are podcasting off the beautiful shores of the Pacific Ocean. Beautiful day out here in Southern California. PORSBR is my Twitter handle, and Ryan Holmes is RHOLM22. Raiders lose 3-0. We went through all 22 of that debacle. Well, thanks everybody from listening to the show or watching the show from Hillsboro, Oregon, Los Angeles, California, Oakland, California, British Columbia, Apex, North Carolina, Kingston, Jamaica, Meriden, Ohio, Fresno, California, New York, Sanford, North Carolina, and then we got Oklahoma in here as well, Los Gatos, and Arlington Heights, Illinois are listening to the Put on Raiders podcast and watching us all on YouTube. Ryan, how are you?
I'm doing good. I watched the all 22 of the Raiders offense today, and it didn't take very long. It's probably the fastest all 22 offensive session I've ever done.
I'm sure it was pretty funny. I just want to go over a couple of some news and notes things real quick. One thing, I don't know who told the NFL about this playing 2 Monday night games simultaneously at the same time. Like, I don't know why that's a thing. I don't know. Do you enjoy that? I don't know. I don't know anybody who actually enjoys that. And then Tom. Yeah, go ahead.
I would say as a YouTube TV subscriber, no problem, because you can do the split screen.
Yeah,
both of them on at the same time.
Yeah, it just still drives me crazy. But YouTube TV, I will give them credit for. I did a free trial, and it does make me consider getting it. It really is good. It's a good product, no question about it. No, those guys out in Mountain View are doing a good job. And then Tom Curran, well, this could be news that pertains to the Raiders later on, is that Bill Belichick could be out after this year. You should know.
No.
You don't think so?
I want Bill Belichick.
I don't know. I'm saying for the, it can affect the Raiders, not him coming to the Raiders, but him going to the Chargers. So that could be something. Tom Curran is a reliable source out there in Boston, and he knows all about the Celtics and Celtics, Red Sox, and Patriots. So all 22 time, and before we let's just jump right into the all 22. We got 3rd and 7 here. Probably one of the bright spots of the game. After this play was over, I was sitting in my head saying, how could they screw this up? It's an easy game, just kick the field goal and win the game, but the Raiders are gonna raid. What about this play that you made you put this up on Twitter, besides the fact that it was the only good offensive play the Raiders had all day?
I was going to say, 3rd down conversions, there wasn't very many of them, so not a lot to choose from, but I thought this was one of the few plays where, they got the right play called against the right coverage. It's a 5-man pressure. There's man coverage behind it with 2 deep safeties. And you have Renfro at the bottom as the number 1. He's going to motion into almost a bunch formation with Myers and Mayer and kind of use Jacoby Myers as kind of a shield to create a little bit of traffic to get inside. And you see Jacoby Myers, he's basically running a corner route, but he runs vertical up the seam. And you see Hunter Renfro kind of slide in behind him. And that puts the cornerback with outside leverage, with Renfro running a shallow cross to the middle of the field where there is no defender. The middle of the field is wide open. And Aiden O'Connell puts it on him. The offensive line holds up against the extra 5-man pressure. And then with the safeties working deep, and you have the safety at the top of the screen working towards Adams, there is no one left once he catches that ball, and he runs for, a good 25, 30 yards after that, gets the Raiders down to 1st and 10 from the 11-yard line, I believe it was.
You would think that the Raiders would use the middle of the field a little bit more, but they did, at least on that play. It was a really it was nice design there, nice execution, and as you said, it looked like it looked like he was like a warrior fighting and like almost like shielding off the other defenders so Renfro can get free, and he was able to do that as well. So nice play by the Raiders, and Bo Hardigree there. Wasn't very many, but that was a good one, I guess. Let's roll to let's see what we got. We got the Max Crosby here and quarterback blitz here. They got the tackle for loss action.
Yeah, this is interesting. I haven't seen a lot of teams try to do this, but this happened twice in the game where the Vikings tried to pull the guard from the other side to come get Max Crosby. So they're going to down block with the tackle and the tight end, and basically leave no one there. Max Crosby is free to get into the backfield, and he's so quick off the snap. There's no chance for that left guard to get there. I think Crosby's upset that Jack Jones came on the blitz and actually beat him there, because I think Crosby thinks he's going to make the tackle, and Jack Jones actually gets there before him. Earlier in the game, they did the same thing where Crosby was able to beat the guard and make the tackle for loss himself. This was just the Raiders, again, the right call against the call that the Vikings brought. They had pressure coming from that side with Jack Jones. You had the offensive line, the tackle down blocking away from him and Crosby. So you basically had two guys coming unblocked into the backfield.
Nice play there. And let's see here. We had the last one was little Tyree Wilson, number 9, making plays. Like this was by far one of his more productive ball games for the Raiders this year. What do you see here with Tyree Wilson?
This was his best game as a Raider. They moved him up and down the line of scrimmage. On this particular play, this is the same defensive call where he had the sack in the first quarter. You see Robert Spillane lined up in the opposite B gap. He's lined up as a defensive tackle in a 3 technique. His job is to get to the A gap. Adam Butler's job is to get into the A gap and occupy the center. On the sack earlier in the game, Adam Butler got away with a hold to kind of pull the center out of there. It was a veteran move. But on this play, you can see Tyree Wilson is processing a little bit faster. His eyes are up. He's looking at the quarterback. Before, earlier in the year, he was just focused on the blocker in front of him. The eyes stayed down. He didn't react to the ball one way or the other. But his eyes are up here. He sees the screen coming. He gets off the block, and he kind of retraces his steps and the length, and just to be able to turn around, and his arms are so long, the running back doesn't have a chance to get away from him. As soon as Diablo has outside contain there, the running back cuts back in. Tyree Wilson makes the tackle. I would like to add, a lot of people are saying they moved him into defensive tackle. That's where he should be. He's an Eric Armstead. He's a DeForest Buckner. Those guys weigh 25 or 30 pounds more than Tyree Wilson. If you're going to move him inside, you're going to ask him in the offseason to get in the weight room, put that weight in the lower half. He's going to have to get off the ball much quicker. He's going to have to use his hands much quicker in a phone booth. I'm not saying it's a total no. I would give Tyree Wilson the offseason to keep working as an edge defender who you can move inside if you need to, as a pass rusher on third down. I'm not convinced that he's going to hold up every down inside, even if you put 25 pounds on him. How fast everything happens in a phone booth, I don't think he can handle that. But in the right situation, you're moving around, I would say almost like a Justin Tuck, put him outside and run downs. He can set the edge and then slide him inside when you get into these NASCAR type pass rush packages where you can put speed guys around him. The Raiders, actually, this is the first time all year I think they had what you would call that type of package. There was several times you had Kuntz, Janoris Robinson, Tyree Wilson, and Max Crosby as your 4 pass rushers. So they had 4 defensive ends essentially on the field.
Yeah, you don't want to create another Tillery. So like give him. I would still keep him on the edge, and then go get some people up in the middle to take up blocks and do that. But in obvious passing downs, I don't mind him obviously what you said. Playing going inside makes a whole lot of sense for the Raiders to go ahead and do that. Parham had to go play center because Andre James got hurt. Looked better. You in our text thread, you're talking about how his snaps are like firmer. They get back there a little bit quicker. Andre James had the tendency to kind of float those back there a little bit. So they don't get back to the quarterback as quickly as they should. What was your thoughts about Andre Dylan Parham at center?
I liked what I saw from him at center. And as soon as I texted you that, the next snap was the one where he snapped it and he hit himself and it hit the ground. And O'Connell had to pick it up and throw that ball out to Jacoby Myers on the screen that was incomplete.
Yep.
But yeah, there's a little bit more firmness on the snap. It gets to the quarterback a little bit quicker. So the quarterback can get his eyes on the defense rather than wait for the ball to get there that you have with Andre James. I thought the best part was he's a little bit better when there's not a guy playing right on top of him. Like he is a guard. And then his ability and athleticism to move and pass protection, the ability to move laterally and the quickness that he has inside at center, I think is an advantage. He's a very athletic guy. So you can get this guy, you can pull him, you can get him out on screens. He can help guards, especially with the way the Raiders want to go. Like, it's very, very hard. And I know a lot of Raider fans are critiquing the offensive line and thinking they suck, but there are not a lot of 320-pound human beings on the planet that are really good run blockers and really good pass blockers. You usually have to choose one or the other.
Yep.
The Raiders have essentially chosen pass blockers with this offensive line that they have. They don't have guys that can move people. So if you want a power running game, get some power guards and put Parham inside at center and allow his athleticism to shine and put some two physical guys next to him. And then you have Colton Miller, and if you can beef up right tackle, then you have a line that's a nice mix of athleticism, some power, and some pass blocking. You're not going to find 5 offensive linemen that can do both.
Yep. Yeah, and I mean that makes a whole lot of sense. I don't know what this like critiquing the going after the offensive line every single 5 seconds is like kind of ridiculous. I mean, we know what they are as an offensive line. The Raiders are not a big time offensive line, but you have to you gotta make a choice between not only that, but what do you want to do in a running game? Do you want to be are you doing zone blocking? Are you doing power? Like, you got to make that decision. And you have to see what the next regime wants to do offensively as far as that goes. I've been kind of harping on this and talking about this for a while now, and it's the inability for the Raiders to have a solid backup running back. I think it's the most embarrassing and the biggest indictment of a team when you don't have a backup running back. I think that's probably one of the easiest things you can go out there and get. They weren't able to go do that, and now it looks like Josh Jacobs, maybe running backs get hurt all the time. He gets hurt. They're of course it's up against a Thursday night game against the Chargers, which we'll talk about later. But I'm worried about him being able to play. And let's be honest, Abdullah and Zaire White are not going to remind anybody of Bo Jackson and Marcus Allen.
Yeah, I don't anticipate Jacobs playing on Thursday. I don't have any inside information or anything, but just the way that he looked coming off the field, it's a short week. It's a knee injury. We're probably going to get a chance to see a lot of the other backs. Even if he does play, he's probably going to be on a small pitch count, 8-10 carries, something like that. He's not going to go out there and carry the ball 25 times.
Yep.
I do question. Yeah, I don't think Jacobs trusts this offensive line at all. Like, over the last couple of weeks, you can see him trying to bounce everything. He's not staying with where the blocks are designed to go. He doesn't trust the offensive linemen to open up the holes they're supposed to. Even in this game, I thought it was surprising where there were runs where he could get 3 or 4 yards, but he sees a linebacker kind of coming to the hole, and instead of going into the hole and challenging that guy and running over him and getting 3 or 4 yards, he's trying to cut left or right in the backfield, ends up losing yardage or gets tackled at the line of scrimmage for no gain. So he's kind of shying away from contact right now, which is not Josh Jacobs. I saw a lot of the Josh Jacobs from 2 years ago on the video this week and a little bit last week as well, where you saw a different Jacobs against the Giants and the Jets. So it's really interesting what they want to do going forward. I think I have an idea if it's Champ Kelly and it's Antonio Pierce, because they just brought in DJ Fluker, who's a big physical run blocker. He can move men. To me, that signals they want to get a little bit more beef in the trenches. And if they both stay, you're probably going to see this shift to a power run game instead of, they tried to do that early in the year. It didn't work. Now, then they went to this zone attack, had a little bit of success. It's kind of bogged down the last couple of weeks. And some of that's on Jacobs.
Yeah, I mean, does that mean that if these two did stay, that I mean they would move on from Jacobs if they're gonna go power, or they're gonna still?
I don't know if they'd move on from Jacobs, because if you're going to go a rookie quarterback, then I would try to bring him back on a 2 or 3 year deal.
Yeah.
I would obviously upgrade the backup running back position as well. Josh Jacobs is a leader on this team. He was on the rush with Max Crosby, and just listening to him talk how much he cares and how much he wants to win, and him telling stories about his first year veterans in the locker room are like, it's cool, you lose games in this league. And Jacobs is like, he said, don't talk to me for 2 days after we lose. I don't want to hear that. Like, I don't play this game to lose. And you want that mentality in your locker room, especially being a leader on the offensive side of the ball. And if you go with a rookie quarterback, I would keep as many of the veteran pieces around him so he can have success, rather than move on from him and say you get stuck with a Zamir White or running back that isn't any good. That doesn't help your rookie quarterback at all.
I think the biggest thing I worry about with Abdullah and White is pass pro. I think that's one of the things that, I mean, once you put a younger running back in there, I worry about that a little bit. But I mean, for the most, I mean, there's nothing you can do about that as far as that goes. I'm not really big on either back if they got to play heavy snaps in this game, which is what looks like it's going to likely be. That's just what we got to do as far as that goes. I'm not sure. Can you break down inverted cover two, and what's like, as far as like cover two, we know what cover two is, but like what's the difference between inverted and just regular cover two?
Yeah, in regular cover two, the safeties are playing the deep halves. So essentially, you have the two deep shell where the safeties each have a half of the field. When you hear inverted cover two, that just means a corner is dropping into it in a half. Sometimes it could be both corners, it could be one corner, but one of the two deep guys is going to be a cornerback with a safety coming down into the flat. The Vikings did a really good job of disguising their defenses, and I had mentioned it on the post game that it looked like Aiden O'Connell was confused and didn't know what he was looking at. Brian Flores, master disguises this week, where he basically showed cover one, man to man, 6 men up on the line, and then before you know it, they're rotating into inverted cover two, where you have a corner going deep, you have a safety working from the middle to the other half. The interception, I put this up, the interception that Aiden O'Connell threw to Adams at the end of the game, that was dirty what Brian Flores did. He basically lined up. Again, he showed a 6-man pressure. He lined up to the offense's right. So over the right tackle and right guard, he had a linebacker and a defensive end who dropped out. Those were the hook defenders. The linebacker that caught the interception was lined up over the right guard at the snap and ended up on the other side of the field to undercut that route. I'm pretty sure Aiden O'Connell, when he took the snap and looked over there, he wasn't there, and the guy just kind of flashed across the screen when he threw that ball. And getting to different inverted cover twos, it was never the same combination. It was different guys playing in different roles, but they were all starting at similar spots. So you never know who was the deep half, who was playing the middle. Was it the free safety? Is it the middle linebacker? Is it the strong safety? And they seem to be able to do it from basically showing you cover one with a 6-man pressure, man coverage. And then I think as the game went on, Brian Flores went deeper and deeper into his bag. And then in the second half, it was on. Like they were showing cover two a lot, but they were getting to it so many different ways that Aiden O'Connell had no idea. And then Bo Hardery couldn't figure out when they were going to do it and when they weren't. When he thought they were going to play man, he'd have a man beater on, and then they'd flip into the inverted cover two, and then the routes wouldn't work. And there was a couple play calls where, I think one time he called, 4 verticals on a 3rd and medium that kind of got taken away when they spun into that. There was another time where he just called sticks, which stupid route, but 2 flats, 2 curls, and like they're just running right into where the defenders are on 3rd and 4th. So,
exactly.
When you get that look, you have to work the middle of the field, down the middle, or get the ball to the backs and have them make a guy miss. And the one thing that Aiden O'Connell doesn't do is throw the ball to the running backs. And that's something that's kind of been missing from this offense is when those first and second options aren't available, get the ball to the back and let him go and get 4 or 5 yards, make a guy miss. Where Aiden O'Connell's kind of getting stuck on the route. Okay, it's not there. And then he's trying to get to the next route rather than just get the ball to the back and try to make positive yards. I thought the offensive line, I know everyone hates them. I thought they played pretty well in this game. Going back and looking at the film, it wasn't atrocious. With all the different looks that Brian Flores gives you, I thought for the most part, give or take a play here or there, they held up and they gave them time. It was just Aiden O'Connell didn't understand what was going on the other side of the line of scrimmage. And then by the time he could get through the routes, the pressure was getting there. So I think he had enough time to get rid of the ball. The Raiders, a lot of the times, kept the back and the tight end to help. So they have 3 men out in the route. Well, you need to get someone else out. If those guys aren't open, you have to be able to get the back or the tight end out as kind of an outlet so the quarterback can get the ball to his hands. And that didn't happen at times. So kudos to Brian Flores. I mentioned, the Raiders should interview him. I don't know if I would hire him as the head coach, but as a defensive coordinator, he put on a clinic against the Raiders.
Like I said, and like people came after me when I put a list out of defensive, and the Raiders wanted to go defensive mind, and Brian Flores was on that list, and people were like, he ruined Tua, this. I'm like, dude, just like the guy is pretty good at his job. Like he's really good. And like just to interview, to hear different perspectives, like I'm not even saying hire him, I'm saying just interview him. Like a lot of times you can gain stuff from just the interview process. And you never know. People can usually the Patriot guys don't change, but like you never know. You never know. But like I would say he's a guy worthy of an interview with the Raiders. I know everybody's like, Patrick Graham, but I definitely would interview him as well. Anything else on this game? I mean, I know I also the point, like something that I saw on all 22 that that I want to rewatch because you point out to me is that there really doesn't seem like there is an agenda to get Adams the football, and it doesn't seem like this quarterback looks in his direction. Like if he's over here, his eyes are over here all the time, and it's probably a problem when you're not targeting Devontae Adams.
It's a problem, and I think you have a first-time play caller in Bo Hardegree, and you have a rookie quarterback who's having a hard time understanding what's going on across the line of scrimmage, and especially against a team like the Vikings. But a lot of times, if you take out, Bo Hardegree likes to run the ball on first and second down and get into third and medium. That doesn't help Devontae Adams.
Yep.
He also likes to call a lot of these like quick screen games with the wide receivers, and he threw a lot of them against the Vikings. Again, that's a play where you can't get the ball to Devontae Adams. And then a lot of times, just going through, the all 22, Aiden O'Connell, after the snap, a lot of the times he's looking to the other side of the field away from Adams. I don't know if it's because the safety shaded over there and he just doesn't want to mess with it, but they have to get more creative. And it seems like the only way that they really get him the ball is on these option or choice routes where it's basically he's in the slot and he has the option to go inside or outside. And then, when he's the first read, they can get him that, but they're not getting him the ball down the field at all. You don't see the post routes. You don't see the go routes. You don't see the back shoulder fades that he's really good at. That's on the coach, and that's definitely on the play caller where they're just not getting him enough touches. And I know at the end of the day, you're going to look at it and say, we had 10 targets or what, 7 catches, 10 targets, or whatever it is. That's still not enough for Devontae Adams.
Yeah.
When you can't score, you have to get the ball in his hands. You have to give him an opportunity. You have to throw the ball down the field. You can get pass interference. He can make an unbelievable play. But half the time, he's just out there and it's like, okay, ball snap, I'm going to this side. And I think a lot of it too is Will Hardegree has got to stop calling these wide receiver screens. They're not working. And if you're going to call them to DeAndre Carter, who's a punt returner. Get it in Trey Tucker's hands.
Yep.
Don't throw these passes to Jacoby Myers or, Hunter Renfrow got one, but he fumbled. But I think Bo Hardegree just overthought himself in this game where he thought, I'm going to get cover 0. They're going to bring 6 or 7. I'm going to throw the ball outside real quick. And it didn't work in this game. And there were a couple of times where that's on the wide receivers out there who weren't really blocking well enough to let those plays execute. I saw a little bit of questionable effort from some of the wide receivers blocking on some of those. But at the same time, just throw the ball to Devontae Adams. It's not that hard to figure out how to get the ball in 17's hands. But All teams across the league do it all the time. I just don't know why the Raiders have a receiver this caliber, and they just can't find a way to get him the ball.
It's weird. I mean, you can stack receivers, you can stack receivers, you can stack receivers on one side and have him be on the other side by himself. You can put him in motion. Like, it shouldn't be that difficult to do it, but the Raiders really struggle in that category. I didn't want to talk about this real quick before we started. Do you have anything else on that game? Or are you good?
I would mention, I heard you mention Patrick Graham, and I see a lot of people that are pushing for Patrick Graham for this job if Antonio Pierce doesn't get it. As well as the defense has played.
Yep.
I don't know if I want to put him into the head coach position where he won't. Head coaches don't really call defensive plays, not like they do on the offensive side of the ball. So I'm not sure that would actually favor the Raiders if you take the defensive play calling away from him, put him in a leadership role as the head coach, and you have someone else, someone calling the defensive plays. You might not get the same results. I love Patrick Graham this year. I didn't really like him last year, but he's done a lot with a little, and I would love to keep him on as a defensive coordinator under Pierce or whoever the next coach should be. I don't know if I want to elevate him into the full-time head coaching position.
Yeah. Keep him where he's at, and maybe you get a situation like Indianapolis where they hire a head coach, they like Gus Bradley, and they say, hey, he's still in a contract. Do you want to keep Patrick Graham? I mean, it's a young play caller along, a guy like Frank Smith might say yes. You never know. I mean, they have a veteran defensive play caller in Miami in the Vic Fangio, so maybe that works out for them with the Raiders. Speaking of head coach, Antonio Pierce, the thirst that Raider Nation has for this young man to be the head coach is really getting Stan-like. Like, it's getting bad. And I'm gonna start calling AP stands, because like, when do you not have to perform and get a job? Like, once you start saying it's the same thing we used to say about Derek Carr, he needs this, he needs that, he needs this. Like, oh, get him a veteran offensive play caller, get him a quarterback, get him like, I understand what he's walking into. I totally get it. But 2 weeks to prepare, and I understand how talented Brian Flores is. He doesn't have a lot of shutouts on his list. As a head coach, you cannot get shut out in that moment. And then your team can't let out a story about Tom Coughlin, Adam Gase, and Marvin Lewis, visiting you just to kind of sharpen your skills as a head coach. And then you put that dud up. When they had when they played Miami, they had a situation where they got a turnover, end of the half, and the Dolphins in their own territory. Great play by the defense. You don't attack the end zone. After the play with Hunter Renfrow in the Viking game, they don't attack their end zone. They throw the ball, horizontally instead of into the end zone. Our biggest gripe about offensive play calling in the red zone, you got to throw the ball you got to throw the ball in the end zone. Like, there's opportunities. He is the head coach. So yes, he's stuck with Bro Hardigree, who probably isn't ready for this moment. But if he doesn't know offensive football, go learn offensive football. Like, when you had a bye week, go sit down with him and say, these are the core principles of what we're gonna do. These are the concepts. This is what the playbook is. Like go into his world, because Patrick Graham got the defense. Like, you can leave Patrick Graham alone right now. Like, you should be sitting down with him and saying, what can we do to get Devontae the ball, to get Myers the ball, to utilize that tight end, and to get Jacobs going, because that's what you should at least been able to get a game where maybe you get 4 or 5 field goals from Daniel Carlson. That would have helped. But he is not performing.
How about 2 field goals?
Exactly. He is not performing at a high level in any way whatsoever. He's not learning. The team is actually scoring less points during his time than Josh McDaniels. Like, I don't want to kill him, but like, yo, we can't stand for him and be like, oh, listen, the jacket was tight. Don't get me wrong. On the Pac-12 championship game, it was tight, but it doesn't mean he's the head coach. I love NWA too. Doesn't mean he needs to be the head coach. Like, it's time to like really look at what he's doing on the field, and then and saying, are they digressing? If they lose a game the way the Rams lost to the Ravens, I'm good. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, if they lose like that. When you lose a game like this, I can't co-sign on just like, oh, just blindly giving him the job.
I have a question for the AP stands. And I like AP. I like everything about him. I like the fact that he grew up a Raiders fan. That tugs at my heart a little bit. If he was still the linebackers coach and he wore the Raider starter jacket, he never spent the day as the interim head coach. None of those, not a single person would say hire Antonio Pierce as the full-time head coach at the end of the season. Okay. He knew what he was getting into when he chose the interim job. Bo Hardegree was his choice. He could have chosen Scott Turner, but he went with the inexperienced offensive coordinator. I hear a lot of people say, well, just get him an offensive genius offensive coordinator and everything will work out. My next question, but those same people don't want a retread. They want the young, explosive guy. And I ask myself, okay, I look around the league. Who's that guy in Miami? No, that head coach calls plays. So you're not getting anyone out of Miami. Frank Smith's not coming over to the Raiders to be the offensive coordinator. I go to Detroit. Nope, Ben Johnson's not going to be the offensive coordinator unless you want to hire the quarterbacks coach who's inexperienced and never called plays before. I go to San Francisco. Nope, Kyle Shanahan calls the plays. Where am I? Sean McVay calls plays. Where am I going in the league to find a guy that's been a play caller who's young and is supposed to be this offensive genius that, one, even wants to work for Antonio Pierce? We don't even know if he wants to do that. Like, there's no quarterback here. It's Aiden O'Connell. They're not going to get the first or second pick, so you're not going to guarantee yourself Williams or May. There's other opportunities. Chicago's going to open up. You're going to have an opportunity to work with Justin Fields or Caleb Williams or Drake May, whoever you want.
New England could be opening up.
And they're going to have probably the second pick. You can go work in Carolina and work with Bryce Young, whatever you think about Bryce Young. So the Raiders' offensive coordinator job's not as attractive as several others that will be in the league. That offensive genius that's been a play caller that's going to have this explosive offense, he's not available. So if you're going to go that route, you're going to get another guy that's never called plays, who's going to have to learn on the job while AP learns on the job. If AP keeps this job, and Raider fans don't want to hear this, his best thing to do is go hire an offense coordinator that's called plays, that's been a head coach in the league, that can help him learn. And you're probably not going to get the high-powered, explosive offense you want. And then what happens if they keep AP and they hire that offensive coordinator? Let's say it's the young guy, and the offense doesn't get any better. You're stuck in the same place. Like, this offseason is the most important offseason, I would say, in the last 20 years for the Raiders, because they're going to spend a first-round pick on a quarterback, and the whole organization, from the GM to the head coach to the quarterback, have to be in lockstep. And this has to be the group you want to move forward with for the next 3 to 5 years while you develop that quarterback. The worst thing you could do is give AP this job, go hire a young offensive coordinator. It backfires. You get Bo Hardegree part 2 while you're trying to teach a young first-round quarterback, and this thing blows up in a year or two, and you got to start all over. And in year 3, this quarterback you basically have to retrain everything. That can't happen. They have to get this hire right, and they have to get this pick right. And to me, at this point, I would not keep AP based on how this is probably going to finish.
Yeah.
And Raider fans are so quick to say, well, he's ours. He's our guy. He's our guy. And I just want to win. I don't care who they hire, as long as it's not Josh McDaniels, because we were never bored on that. But go get a guy and win. I don't care where he came from, as long as the Raiders win.
Yep. And I would say, too, for the folks who want Eric Bieniemy is going to look. Eric Bieniemy's agent is going to pick up the phone, and he's going to say, "Oh, you're calling me about the OC job or the head coaching job? Because I'm a little bit more qualified than the guy you got there right now. So let me take that job. That's a big thing too. And I don't think that guy exists in the NFL. I think if you kept AP, I could see I don't want this to happen, but I could see the Raiders getting a coach from college to be the offensive coordinator of this team. I could just see that happening, only because like this league doesn't have these kind of guys floating around. The one that everybody thinks is get a hot shot, get a hot shot OC. Yeah, the OC. Everybody thought Kellen Moore was going to set the world on fire, and with the Chargers, and they couldn't even get out. They couldn't even get. They can't get out of their way. Segue to the Chargers. And the Raiders. These are probably two, and I know Raider fans are going to be mad with me saying this, but probably two of the worst coach teams in football. The Raiders and the Chargers. You can't get worse than Staley and Moore. They've been horrible. They've been terrible. He's gotten hurt. I mean, while the Cowboys offense has been soaring, he left the Cowboys offense. Everybody said, what are they going to do without Kellen Moore? Kellen Moore has gone to the Chargers and not done anything. They can't run the football. Justin Herbert is now hurt. They are not, they just can't, they just struggle all mightily offensively. And people are just like not even looking like they want to play. This is the worst Austin Eckler I've seen in some years. Defensively, statistically, they have been one of the worst defenses in years. Ever since Staley's taken over, they've been horrible on defense. He continues to call plays. Hope he enjoys it for the next 5 games, because I don't think even the cheap Chargers are going to keep Brandon Staley, especially if Belichick is on the Belichick and possibly Harbaugh are on the market. Looking at the Chargers on film, they really are a mess, and they look confused a lot on defense, and people were a lot of times running wide open in the secondary. Talented team. If the Raiders can block block Khalil Mack, they should have a chance to win the game. But good luck doing that. I just feel like this could be with the situation at quarterback with the Chargers. This could be a repeat of what we saw on Sunday. A very low scoring, maybe a 6-3 game here. Coming in on Thursday night at Allegiant.
I think it's going to come down to which team forces the most turnovers, because these quarterbacks are going to make mistakes.
They will.
And the team that protects the football, it's going to come down to a turnover in your own area where you throw a pick six, it's a fumble in the red zone. You give the other team field position. The Chargers defense threw a shutout a couple of weeks ago, so I mean they're playing a little bit better. They do have some playmakers on that side of the ball. They're all banged up on offense. Easton Stick's going to play quarterback.
Yep.
They still don't. Mike Williams is out. Jefferson's kind of struggled. The rookie receiver Keenan Allen might not play in this game. He's banged up. He didn't practice today. The Raiders are probably going to be without Colton Miller again. They're probably going to be without Josh Jacobs. They're going to have some injuries they have to overcome. We'll see about Max Crosby. He hasn't practiced, but I don't know if that's going to slow him down, especially a home divisional game. He looked a lot better this week than he did last week. This is going to come down to which defense plays better and which offense doesn't turn the ball over. And I expect both teams to be super conservative. You're going to see a lot of running the ball, a lot of short passing. They're not going to take a lot of chances. Could come down to special teams. I would push back. I don't think the Raiders are coached horribly. I think their offense is coached horribly. I think their special teams and defense are actually coached very well.
I should have clarified. I got a little angry. Sorry. Yeah. I got a little angry.
Yeah. So we expect to see Brandon Faison this week. I've seen reports that he should be activated for this game. So that could be Charger revenge game, like we just saw the Nick Mullins revenge game by the Vikings. But I don't expect a lot of high scoring. I would take the under in Vegas, whatever that number is. I don't expect them to light up. It's a short week. It's a Thursday.
Ugly game coming up here.
So I would say the Raiders probably have the advantage the way their defense is playing. The punt return game looked a little bit better. The punter is amazing. And just not knowing what to get out of Easton Stick. The flip side is we don't know what Easton Stick is. We don't have a lot of film on him. The Raiders don't know what to expect from him, so maybe he can catch him off guard.
Is he somewhat mobile at all?
Yeah, from what I remember, I could be completely wrong. He went to North Dakota State too, right? He's one of these.
Yes, he did.
Yeah. So from my memory, he is a little bit mobile. He can move around. So the Raiders are going to have to understand where he's at. He's not Lamar Jackson, but he can run and pick up yards when he needs to. He's been there for a little while, so it's not like he doesn't know the offense. This isn't an undrafted rookie who's being forced to play. So I would expect him to have a little bit of success. If Keenan Allen doesn't play in this game, it's going to be really tough for the Chargers to do much of anything against this Raiders defense the way this Raiders defense is playing.
Yeah. And they kind of feasted on bad quarterbacks. The Raiders have. I don't think they face one. I mean, this is the last one they'll face as far as that goes. But yes, they do have an opportunity to kind of feast on him a little bit. Max is going to make his life hell. And I dare say Tyree Wilson can make his life hell this week as well too. Because he's coming off of one of his better games, or his best game as a Raider as well. I would say look at the Raiders have given up a lot of yards to tight ends. I would think whenever a backup quarterback comes in, watch the backs and tight ends. Those guys usually get a lot of targets when that happens. And if like you said, if Keenan Allen doesn't play, then I definitely expect that to happen. Raiders game plan in this game.
Don't turn the ball over and get the ball to 17.
Just punt. I mean, like, yeah. I mean, this is a game where, like, even as much as Staley likes to be a River Bowl gambler and go for it on fourth down, even he in this game, I think, will punt the ball a lot in this game because it's going to be the battle of who turns the ball over, and the first mistake you make is it could be the last one, the most crucial one in this ball game as far as that goes. A lot of backups playing in this game, and this could be an ugly game. But then again, I thought the Steelers Patriots was going to be ugly and end up being a pretty good game as far as offensive output goes. So you never know as far as that goes. Easton Stick. I'm trying to look at some Easton Stick stuff right now, but yeah, he's just a guy. He's a backup. So we'll see. Backup playing a future backup. In AOC. And for those folks who repeatedly sending me texts about AOC, give him a chance. Let's calm that down.
I thought he was. I'm pretty sure I was told he was the next Tom Brady, and he goes by the name of Aiden O'Cannon. Those people have died out quickly.
Real quick, they got real quiet as well. I know what you want to happen, but we got to do it the right way, and you got to take a first round quarterback in the draft. No question about it. All right, let's we what the Raiders have to do. Chargers. We talked about the Chargers. Very familiar team. We know them very well. What are your final kind of prediction about this one here for the Raiders and Chargers?
Yeah, I think, this is going to come down to the offensive line. I think the Raiders, if they run out the offensive line, they finished the second half with last week. You're talking about basically backups on your entire left side of your offensive line. Thayer Mumford played left tackle. He actually didn't look terrible. He looked okay, serviceable as like a potential guy that can be a swing tackle that can play both sides. Probably going to end up with Meredith at guard and then Parham at center. The only hesitation I would have is maybe they call up Grasu up the practice squad. He's a veteran who has started. So maybe he plays center and you leave Parham at guard. But either way, they're going to have 2 to 3 backups starting on the offensive line. I don't expect Andre James to play in this game either. And then you have to go out and you have to figure out, okay, how am I going to block Sebastian Joseph Day? How am I going to block? We'll call him Tui from USC, the rookie interior lineman. And then how are you going to block Khalil Mack? They really struggled that in the first game. I expect Amir Abdullah to play a lot in this game. I would be shocked if he didn't have 3 or 4 catches out of the backfield. They need to get the ball out of Aiden O'Connell's hands to the backs. It's tough. As much as I want to lose out and try to get to the 4 seed. Again, a mock draft came out today from ESPN that had Jaden Daniels going 4th. So they had 3 quarterbacks in the top 4. I don't feel comfortable 6 to 10, if that's where they're picking, being able to get one of those 3 quarterbacks and then having to settle for quarterback 4 or 5. The higher they get, the less that's going to cost to move up if they do want to get one of those top 2 guys, whoever that is. But I have a hard time thinking they're going to lose this game to Easton Stick the way the defense is playing. The only holdback I have is the offense can't score. Yeah. So it's going to come down to who scores a touchdown in the red zone. This game might be 10-3, 10-6. 13-10, something along those lines.
Yeah. I mean, it's to the point where I would literally, if you get a turnover, and if Easton Stick turns the ball over in his own end, I might just run the ball 3 times in a row up the middle and kick a field goal. Like, you know what I mean? And like,
so who's Zamir White?
Yeah, I mean, seriously, just well, actually, it might not be Zamir White because I don't want to fumble. So I might be, it might be Bolden or Abdullah, but I still can't believe the Raiders went into the season with that quarterback room, and I can't believe they went into the season with that running back room. And running back room is, besides Jacobs, obviously is not very good. Do you think, was there a point in that game? Just to go back real quick, and before I get my prediction about the game, was there a point in that game where you thought in the second half they would come out with Jimmy?
I did think in the fourth quarter, after seeing after the Renfro fumble, the offense stalled a couple of drives after that, and it was a 0-0 game. You're just looking for, because to me, Aiden O'Connell, he wasn't going to move the ball because he was really struggling processing what was going on. And if you could get a veteran in there for one drive and get a field goal, 2 drives and get a field goal, that could have won you the game. That doesn't mean that this week against the Chargers that you would start Jimmy Garoppolo. I have a real concern with the Raiders front office right now. If you're not going to put him in a game like that, and as much as the Raider fans want to tank and want to lose, and at this point they're pretty much out of the playoff picture, Antonio Pierce has to win to keep this job. So he decided, I'm gonna roll with Aiden O'Connell. Maybe this leads to him not keeping the job because they didn't win that game. But if you're not going to play Jimmy Garoppolo because you're scared of that $11.25 million injury guarantee, why is he the number 2 quarterback? Just make him the number 3, put him on ice, and put Brian Hoyer as the backup. So I don't think the Raiders front office and Antonio Pierce are trying to tank, which leads me to have questions. Why didn't they bring him in just for a drive or two, just to see what they had? He couldn't have done worse. And then you just go back to the reason of having the veteran quarterback behind the rookie is for that exact scenario.
Exactly.
Where it's a tight game. You need one drive. You can put the veteran in. I would have gone to Jimmy Garoppolo for a drive or two just to see, but I would have gone back to Aiden O'Connell against the Chargers.
And that's the point I was trying to make too. Is like I was going to make is that, like, you don't have to make it a permanent change. It doesn't mean we don't want a permanent change. The injury guarantee, I'm good. But if my job is on the line, you make that move, and then even if you weren't thinking of it, like the other team just did it. like the other team took out Dobbs and they brought in Mullins. Jean, let's try that. Like, you know what I'm saying? So like so it makes it even more weird that it won't do it as well. So go ahead.
I would throw in this is another thing I would say about Antonio Pearson. We have questioned his timeout usage, his clock management, his game management. In the final 2 minutes of the half, when they were kind of driving, we'll say, where they had a timeout, he completes the ball. It was around the 40-yard line to Michael Mayer with something like a little over 20 seconds left in the half for the timeout. They didn't use it. Like, why wouldn't you call timeout there? You're 20 yards from a field goal attempt, even if it's a 55, 60-yarder with Carlson in a 0-0 game. Yep. He didn't use the timeout. The clock ran down to 1. I think before they used it after the dump off to Abdullah. So there is a lot of questioning going on with Antonio Pierce's ability, especially this is what we talked about after that Giants game. What is he going to do when he has to make decisions in a close ball game? And in my opinion, he's kind of failed those tests the last couple of weeks. And there is a faction of Raider Nation that wants to say, well, look what his defense is doing. It's not his defense. It's Patrick Graham's defense.
Yes.
He was the linebackers coach. So there is a faction of Raider Nation that wants to give all the defensive credit to Antonio Pierce, and all the offensive failure is Bo Hardery's fault. I don't understand how it can be that way. If you're going to give him credit for the defense, he has to take the blame for the offense. You can't pick and choose just because he was the linebackers coach.
Yeah, we gotta, so our stands have changed. Our stands have changed. It's not car stands.
Wait till we give these predictions.
I know. I'm going to say this. So I think Max Crosby brings it home. I think you don't see a lot of teams going on 7-game losing streaks in the National Football League. The games are usually close, where like the bounce of one play. I can see the Raiders just getting a turnover. I could see Staley just being stupid and being Staley. And I think the Raiders win this game begrudgingly. I've seen so much losing in my lifetime with the Raiders. I hate to want them to lose, but I was cheering Tommy DeVito on Monday Night Football. Good job by
Tommy
Tommy.
Cutlets.
Good job by Tommy. But but you know, it's really important that the Raiders get a quarterback in the draft. I mean, you don't get opportunities like sometimes some years it's only one guy or two guys. It seems like it's multiple guys this year. Hopefully the Raiders can get one. And then without having to trade assets, but this is a hard game for me to think that they're going to lose. You know, I think they win this game, 13 to 10, 10-7, something like that. I mean, they're not going to be able to block this this front in my mind. I mean, Khalil Mack took him for lunch last week. I mean, last time they played. I don't without Jacobs to kind of balance the run game. Don't see that happening. But I think they'll make them. I think they'll make enough. They'll make one or two big plays, and they'll force a turnover defensively. And then whether it's Spillane or Max Crosby, and they win the game. And they win the game 10-7 or 13-10.
You kind of took my thunder there. I was going to go a similar score. I think I'm going to pick the Raiders to win this game. I just think the way the defense is playing right now and the special teams advantage they have.
Yeah.
Now I'm saying this with the belief I don't think Miller, James, Jacobs, or Keenan Allen plays in this game. So that kind of the Chargers are going to be limited on offense. The Raiders are going to be limited on offense. I think the Raiders defense forces a couple of turnovers in this game. Yeah. I think they win this game 16-9, 16-10, something like that. Very low scoring. I just have a hard time thinking that the Chargers are going to roll in and put up 20. I don't think the Raiders are going to score 20. No. I don't know if the Chargers are going to score 10. So we'll see what happens.
Somebody's going to turn the ball over in their own end, and yes. and that's going to decide the game. And if any of these coaches are smart, they will just run the ball and kick the field goal. And it'll be Dicker versus Carlson. Dicker the kicker versus Carlson. So as far as that goes, no. Anything else on this game? This game could be for the ages. Pretty ugly.
Yeah, it takes me back to the olden days for the older Raider fans. If they remember, I think in the mid '90s, the Raiders were down 6-0 late to the Chargers, and Wade Wilson comes off the bench and throws the bomb to James Jett. Raiders win 7-6. We just sat here talking about, hey, we want to lose out, we want to get a top 4 pick, and then we both picked the Raiders win. But I think they're going to win this game.
I do too.
I think they lose out after that.
Yes, they'll win a game after this one.
Puts them in the somewhere in the 7-10 range when all's said and done at the end of the year. I'm personally hoping they end up with a top 4 pick. That's still possible, but it's not possible if they win this game.
Yeah, it's going to be. And just think about it too. With so many games that were close, like if Zach Wilson doesn't step out of bounds on that quarterback scramble, and then so many plays where they end up 6, we're going to be sitting there looking at play here, play there, and we could have
Broncos game was a 1-point game.
1-point game could have been in the top. Could have been in the top. Could have been the top 4. So we'll see what happens, man. We'll see what happens. When the combine hits, and we'll see. We got a lot of time to talk about it. But the Raiders will play Thursday Night Football. Should be a great one. Tickets going fast for that one.
Al Michaels is probably getting really excited to call this game.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Dude. He even when they're good, he just can't stand. Well, he likes Vegas though. He does like Vegas.
He'll be in Vegas. There'll be a lot of talking about the point spread. Yeah. Just make sure you check his glass of eggnog and make sure there's not something in there.
Yes, I'm sure it's not. I probably will be watching this game. I might broadcast this game the same way if I was doing it. All right, Red Nation, take care. AP stands. I'm ready for you.
All right, later.